Greetings, Grade 12 learners. My name is Mr. Simbi and welcome to today's accounting lesson. In today's class, I'm going to be looking at reconciliations and my focus is going to be on debtors and creditors reconciliations. By the end of the lesson, we will address preparing the creditors reconciliation statement as well as preparing the debtors reconciliation statement. Here are some keywords and language. Creditors reconciliation. It is the process of ensuring that the amounts a company owes to its suppliers, that is creditors, as recorded in the accounts payable ledger, match the amounts recorded on the statements provided by those suppliers. Debtors reconciliation, the process of verifying and ensuring that the amounts owed to a company by its customers, these are debtors, as recorded in its accounts receivable ledger, match the amounts shown in the customer's statements or subsidiary records. Here is some pre-knowledge. In grade 10 and 11, you prepared your cash and credit journals. You also prepared your creditors and debtors reconciliation. In grade 12, we're going to look further into the creditors and the debtors reconciliation. Here are some critical common errors. Dear learners, we will go for an ad break and I'll see you shortly. Welcome back from the ad break. Let us look at the first reconciliation, that is the creditors reconciliation. Here is some content and skills problem. There are two methods of the creditors reconciliations. The first one is when we reconcile the creditors ledger and the creditors statement. And the second one is when we reconcile the creditors control account and the creditors list. When we reconcile the creditors ledger and the creditors statement, remember that the ledger is prepared by the business, this is us. And the creditors statement, this is an external document that we receive from the creditor. But when we reconcile the creditors control and the list, we are looking at the control that is prepared by the business, that is us, against the creditors list, which is also prepared by the business, that is us. So these are the two different types of reconciliations that you may find in your examination, and therefore you need to prepare on both these type of reconciliations. Let us look at the very first way of reconciling. And we have an activity with us, so make sure that you have somewhere to write. And when I explain the activity that I have here with me, it will make sense to you when you also write. Make sure you also have a calculator because there are some amounts that we will need to calculate. The question reads, Money Supermarket is owned by Money Bloom. The business buys goods on credit from Lewis wholesalers. So already we know, once you hear the word Money Supermarket, that is us or we. So we have Money Supermarket that is owned by Money Bloom. We buy goods on credit from Lewis wholesalers. So Lewis wholesalers is them. So you will see when I explain this activity, I'm going to be using words such as us, we, and them, so that you get to understand who made an error, who did not record when I use us, we, or them. And then required, very key, that when you do your reconciliations, understand the demands of the examiner. In this case, we are required to use the table provided in the answer book to show the changes to the creditors ledger account of Lewis Wholesalers in the books of Money Supermarket and the statement of account received from Lewis Wholesalers to take into account the differences identified. Indicate with a plus or a minus next to each amount. And we stand to get 13 marks. Let's go. So here is the creditors ledger of Money Supermarket. When you are in the ledger, it is very important to note that your credit side is a plus. All right? Hence you see your invoice here on the credit side. And the debit side is the minus that is in the ledger. Okay. And then you will also be able to check if there's any amount that was incorrectly recorded. But we're going to do that as we correct the errors together. So what is very important is to understand that on your credit side of the ledger, it is a plus. And the debit side, that is your minus side. And when you come to the statement now, it becomes the opposite of what I've just done. On the statement, on the debit side, it is a plus. On the credit side, it is a minus. All right. Hence, you will see your invoices, such as this invoice here, it will be on the debit side. And your receipts will be on the credit side. So now we understand that when you're on the statement, the debit side increases and the credit side will decrease the amount on your statement. Now, we know that there are differences that we have, and those differences need to be corrected. And now information series, a comparison of the statement received from Lewis Wholesalers with the creditors ledger account revealed the following differences. And we have 9 differences that we need to attend to. Let's begin to do that. Okay, so here is another 3 more, and we are going to do all of them. Okay, so let us begin. Number 1 reads, Money Supermarket, that is us or we were granted an allowance of $750 for inferior quality goods. These are goods of bad quality. Received during March, this transaction was not recorded by us. This transaction was not recorded by us. So you can see when you go to the statement that is done by them, there is a credit note here which indicates that allowance of $750. But if you come here, you see that we did not record that. So we need to record it. So we come here now. Who has to record this? It is us that did not record. So we understand that an allowance would decrease the amount that we owe to our creditors. So I'll come here, then I'll say minus $750 because it is an allowance that was not recorded. Can I go to number 2? Let's do that. Number 2 then reads, Lewis Wholesalers, that is them or they had erroneously entered the penalty for late payment twice on 30 March. There it is. They will correct it in the following statement. So, you have to understand that we were charged a penalty, so this amount is correct. Once that amount is correct, but when you come to the ledger, you don't see that penalty. That means we must come and record that penalty. So we come here, then we say plus 580. However, when they recorded, they made an error. They recorded it twice instead of once. So if they increased our account twice instead of once, we must now go and decrease it. So we go and we say minus because they erroneously entered the penalty. So we must now go and take out that penalty. That is 580 rands. Error number 2. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 reads, The amount for invoice 3381. I can see invoice 3381, okay, was correctly recorded in the creditors ledger account. So here is the creditors ledger. That means it is correct here. 7.8 is the correct amount. They recorded 8.7. So now we need to get the difference. They recorded 8.7, which is incorrect. The correct amount was supposed to be 7.8. That simply means they recorded 900 rands more. Now, this is an invoice which was recorded on the debit side, which is a plus. So they added 900 rands more. To correct that, I'll come and then I'll say minus 900 because they added 900 rands more. Error number 3. Let's go to number 4 then. Error number 4, and it reads, an incorrect posting on the returns on 8 April was noted. An incorrect posting. Okay, on the returns on the 8th of April. Let's come to the 8th of April. Here's the 8th of April, and here it appears on the 9th. Okay, let us begin first on the statement. We understand that on the statement, the debit is a plus, the credit is a minus. When it is a credit note, it will be on the minus, on the credit side. Therefore, that is correct. Let us come now to the ledger. On the ledger, the credit side is a plus increasing, and on the debit side, it is a minus. That debit note was recorded on the credit side. That is incorrect. It means, therefore, when I am correcting that, I need to bring that 640 to the debit side. That means I'm going to say minus 640. I have cancelled the error, but I know that I must still record the debit note. So I come again and say minus 640. So you would find that someone would come and just say minus 1,280. That would still be correct. If the examiner is going to give 1 mark for that and 1 mark for that, you will get 2 marks for that one. Let's move on to the next one. Number 5. Invoice BB55 in the creditors ledger, BB55 in the ledger was for goods purchased from a different supplier, West Suppliers. That means we entered an invoice for goods we purchased from a different supplier in the wrong ledger. So we must take it out. We understand that an invoice is added. So to take it out, we'll simply come, then we say minus 11,400. That is how we would correct that one. Let's go on to the next one then. Number 6. It says, invoice 3886 on the statement. Okay, here it is, on the statement. Included VAT at 15%. All goods on this invoice were zero-rated products. So remember, zero-rated products, we were not supposed to include VAT at 15% because these are zero-rated products. They will correct this on the next statement. So they have recorded an amount of 14,720. And that amount includes the VAT at 15%. However, we have recorded the same invoice at 12.8. That is the correct amount without the VAT. So if I can get the difference between the two amounts, I would know the amount of VAT that they incorrectly recorded. So I would then say the 14,720 minus the 12,800. And that will give me 1,920, which is the VAT they incorrectly recorded. So I'll then come here and say, On that amount, remember, I was getting an amount of 1,920. So I'll come and say, here, who made the error? Them. So I'm coming now to the statement. And I'm going to now say, subtract 1,920. It is that VAT amount that was not supposed to be recorded at all. Number 7, the bookkeeper of money, that is our bookkeeper, this is us now, or we recorded a 10% discount on the payment of EFT 425. All right, EFT 425. They indicated that the discount was not approved. They indicated that the discount was not approved. And here is the discount, 1,250. You can see they did not record the discount because it was not approved. So you already know who made the error. It was us. So if it is us, we recorded a discount. That was a minus. So I have to correct it by coming to say plus 1,250. Can I go on to the next one? Let's do that. And then here is my number 8. Credit note A88, which is this one here. On the statement, received does not relate to us. This will be corrected on the next statement. So they made a mistake by recording this amount. It does not relate to us. They subtracted 3,180, which does not relate to us. So to correct that, we'll say plus 3,180. We add it back. And then the last one. Examiners love this one, where they simply say the statement is received on the 26th of each month. So that means when we received the statement on the 26th, did we go and make further transactions with our supplier? Yes, you can see there is a transaction there. An invoice number 4243 for 9,900. And here you can see it is ending on the 25th. So it simply means there is transactions in the ledger which are not on the statement. Now we need to put them on the statement. So I'll come here and I would say it's an invoice. That means we have purchased goods. So the sign, remember, is a plus. So I'll come and say plus 9,900. And then we come to the end of this particular activity. We have now done the first type of reconciliation, as I explained earlier on, that is looking at the ledger prepared by the business against the statement, which is an external document. Dear learners, let us go for an ad break, and I'll see you shortly. Welcome back, dear learners. Before the ad break, we did an activity that had the creditors ledger. Remember, these are books prepared by us against the statement, which is an external document received from the creditor. The second version is where we have the creditors control that is prepared by us, the business, against the creditors list, which is also prepared by us as a business. Okay. Now, we are going to look at the second version now. And the question reads, the information relates to SEB traders for August 2023 required. Take into account the errors and omissions, calculate the correct balance for the creditors control account and the creditors list. Indicate the changes with a plus for an increase and a minus for a decrease. And we stand to win 9 marks. Let us see what the examiner has for us. So what we are given here is balances and totals on 31 August 2023 before correcting errors and omissions. The creditors control account balance is 175,940 and the creditors list total in the creditors ledger is 186,350. You can see that these amounts are not the same. Remember that. These amounts must be the same because they are all prepared from the same set of information. And the creditors control account is a summary of your creditors list. Hence, the amounts must be the same. In this case, they are not the same. That indicates that there are some errors and omissions which we must then correct. And here's the creditors list. We have our creditors here. Here are the errors and omissions. Let us then begin. Number 1, it says, the total of the creditors allowances journal, CAJ, was understated by 3,600. Okay, so once you hear the word the total of the CAJ, you have to understand that when we are recording in the creditors list, we are dealing with individual accounts. For example, we must be looking at either Puto, Planet, Mish, or Aerial Suppliers. I can ask you a question right now, that if I'm to correct this amount that was understated, to whom am I going to correct it if I'm to record it in the list? Is it to Puto, or to Planet, or to Mish, or to Aerial? It will be to neither of them, because we are not given any indication that the error was in the list. But we know that the error was because an amount was understated in the journal, the total of a journal. And we understand that when we prepare the control, we use totals from journals. So the place where there is an error in this case becomes your creditors control, because that is the one that is created by totals of the journals. So if I'm told it is the total of the CAJ, the sign for the CAJ, it is a minus. It decreases what we owe to our suppliers. So we have recorded less, so we need to go and decrease it more. That is, I'm going to come and say minus 3,600 further. That is how I would correct this particular error. Do I record in the control, in the list rather? Do I record in the list? No. So, in other papers, the examiner would require that to record no entry or put a 0. In this case, we're going to be putting a 0. Very important that you follow the instructions of the examiner. If they say record no entry, write no entry. If they say put a 0, put a 0, because in some exams, they may give you a mark for that. Number 2, a payment. So we know that when we pay our creditors, it decreases the amount that we owe them. A payment of 14,250 made to Puto wholesalers was in error posted as 15,240 in the creditors ledger account. Posting to the general ledger was correct. So it is a payment which was overstated. So let's see by how much. We'll now say 15,240 minus 14,250. So that payment was overstated by 990. That means we subtracted 990 rands more. We subtracted 990 rands more. Because remember, a payment is a minus. We were supposed to say minus 14,250, but we went and said minus 15,240. To correct that, where do we go? Do we go to the control? No, because we're told that the posting to the ledger was correct. Once the posting to the ledger is correct, that means the control is correct. So the error is therefore in the list where we subtracted more, 990. So to correct that, we're going to come and add that 990 plus 990. Okay. Number 3, It reads, an invoice. So we know that when there's an invoice, it means we have purchased goods on credit from our supplier. So the sign would be a plus. It increases what we owe them. An invoice received from Planet Suppliers, 9540, and recorded in the Creditors Journal, CJ, was posted in error to the account of put wholesalers in the Creditors Ledger. So you can see here that this invoice is from Planet Suppliers, but it was recorded in the Creditors Journal. That means here the CJ is correct. Once the CJ is correct, it means my control is also correct. However, it was posted in error to the account of put wholesalers. Okay, so what do we do now? We come and subtract it first from Puto. It's an invoice. So we posted it to Puto. In other words, we added it to Puto. So if we added it to Puto, we must come and subtract it from Puto. Minus how much? 9540. We subtract it from Puto. And then we must now record it to Planet Suppliers. So we come, then we say an invoice is a plus 9540. The effect, therefore, is 0. Okay? So it will have no effect at the end of the day. That's why you see the 0. Let me move on to number 4. Goods returned to niche dealers, 7.5. Once goods are returned, it's a minus. And recorded in the CAJ was posted to the account in the Creditors Ledger as an invoice. An invoice is a plus. Do you see this error? Okay. So we know that it is goods returned to niche dealers and recorded in the CAJ. It is recorded in the CAJ. And we are told was posted to the account in the Creditors Ledger as an invoice. So we know that once it's recorded in the CAJ, goods returned, that means my control is also fine. However, it was posted to the account in the Creditors Ledger as an invoice. So an amount that was supposed to be subtracted was added. How do we correct that? We'll come and then we say, since we added an amount that was supposed to be subtracted, first, let's correct the error. So we come and we say minus 7.5. And then we record now the return of goods, minus 7.5. That would mean we end up with minus 15,000. That is how you would do that one. Number 5 reads, SEP traders recorded a purchase of 13,280 from area suppliers in the CJ after deducting a trade discount of 20%. However, area suppliers informed them that the trade discount agreed was only 10%. So we understand that the 13,280 was 80% of an amount that was marked on these goods, and we're given 20% discount. According to us, we assumed that it was 20%. So we would want to know how much was the marked price on these goods. It would mean that what I want is 100, and what I have is 80, and I multiply this by 13,280. That would give me 16,600. So 16,600 was the marked price on these goods before the trade discount, which we recorded as 20%. So we are then told that the trade discount was supposed to be 10%. So we then get 10% of this amount, 10% of that amount. And then you now say 16.6 by 10%. That means it's 1,660. Okay, so remember we had recorded 20%, which was incorrect, yet we must record 10%. So we are going to come now, and we're now going to say, on the control account, remember, we had recorded this in our books. So the amount that we had recorded was more. Now we have to correct that. Remember, we had recorded how much? 20%. And now we must record only 10%. So we're going to come now and we take that 10%, that discount. Because remember, we had subtracted more. Now we have to come and subtract less. And you would know if you take the difference between these two amounts. If you say 16,600 minus the 13,280, it will show you that the discount that we had subtracted, the trade discount, was the 3,320. So we had subtracted 3,320, yet we were supposed to subtract only 1,660. So you can see that this is equal to the 20%, and this is now equal to the 10%. So to make it easy, we'll simply come and we'll now say we had subtracted more. Now let us add back. So we'll come, then we say plus 1,660 plus 1,660. If you take the difference between these two amounts, you still get your 1,660 again, which is the amount that we had subtracted more. The activity that I have reads, Zigzag Traders sells ladies' clothing on credit. Debtors are allowed a credit term of 30 days to settle their accounts. Required, refer to information A and B. Use the table provided in the answer book to calculate the following. Very key that you follow the examiner's instructions. Calculate the correct closing balance of the debtor's control account on 30 September 2021. Indicate changes with a plus for an increase and a minus for a decrease, or 0 for no change. Very important. Don't leave any space blank. If there's no change, indicate with a 0 for that. The correct amounts owed by the following debtors only. And here is the information. The following errors and omissions must be taken into account. And here is more errors and omissions. Then let's begin. It reads, an invoice. I know that once I hear the word invoice, it means we sold goods on credit, so it should increase what our debtors owe us. So it's a plus. An invoice for 1,750 issued to Barnes was not recorded in our books. Zigzag Traders is us. So, if an invoice is not recorded in our books, it means we will not find it in the debtor's control, because the debtor's control is prepared by us. And the debtor's list is also prepared by us. So if it is not recorded in the books, it is not in the control, neither will we find it in the list. So we'll come here, then we'll now say, in the control, an invoice, a plus 1,750. Then I come here to the debtors. These were goods sold to Barnes, so I'm coming here to say plus 1,750 to Barnes. We good? Let's go to the next one, the second one. And it reads, a direct deposit, that means a debtor has paid, minus a direct deposit of 2,500 by E. Foley was correctly recorded in the journal but incorrectly posted to the account of E. Foggs, another debtor in the debtor's ledger. Okay, so if a direct deposit was correctly recorded in the journal, once it is correctly recorded in the journal, it means the control is fine. That means I come here, because they said if there's no change, I put a 0. Then I'll come now. This was by E. Foley, but we recorded it in E. Foggs, and you don't see Foggs here, but we see E. Foley. So I'm going to come and say, in the books of E. Foley, minus 2,500. Are we good? Can I move on to the next one? Let's do that. Let's go. Here's number 3. The total of the debtors journal. Once I hear DJ plus, because it means there are invoices that are recorded in the DJ, it increases what our debtors owe us. The total of the DJ, 62.5, was incorrectly recorded as 65.2 in the debtors control account. Let's get the difference. It is 65.2 minus 62.5. The difference is 2,700. So, we have a difference of 2.7. We incorrectly recorded as 65.2. So, we overstated in the debtors control account. Once we overstate in the DJ, that means we added more. So, we come then we say minus 2,700. Does it affect the amounts in the list? No. So I won't have anything to record there. Number 4, merchandise sold. I know it's a plus already. Okay? Merchandise sold to C. Davis, 3.5, was treated as a return minus and recorded in the DAJ. Remember, when merchandise sold, it is supposed to be recorded in the DJ, but this one was recorded in the DAJ. That was incorrect. So, once an error is made from recording in the journal, that means the control is incorrect as well as the list is also incorrect. This is merchandise sold, which is supposed to be a plus, but we recorded it as a return and you find it in the DAJ. So it simply means, to correct that, I'll come here and I'll say, first, it is merchandise sold, so I'm coming here to say plus 3.5. So we say plus 3.5 to cancel the error. And remember, once we've canceled the error now, we now need to record the merchandise sold. So I come again, then I say plus 3.5. So you would say that one would have just said plus 7,000. That would have been correct. And then we do the same again to C. Davis. So I come to C. Davis and I'll say plus 3.5. Again, plus 3.5. Okay, first to cancel the error, and secondly to record the sale of goods. All right, and then that is how I would do this particular transaction. Thank you, dear learners. Let us go for an ad break, and I'll see you shortly. Welcome back from the ad break. I now have another activity with me here, which is from the Eastern Cape prelim for the year 2023. And it reads, Creditors reconciliation. Candy Stores buys goods on credit from awesome suppliers. Required. Use the table provided to indicate the changes that must be made. In the creditors ledger account in the books of Candy Stores, in the creditors reconciliation statement on 28 February 2023, show a plus for an increase and a minus for a decrease next to each amount. And here is the information. So we are told the balance of awesome supplies in the creditors ledger is 52.9. All right, and then statement of account received from awesome suppliers, and we can see here it's 108,800. Okay. Here are some errors and omissions that were reviewed after an investigation. Let us begin now. This is the table where we're going to show our information. Number 1, it reads, Invoice A12, which is this one here, was incorrectly recorded as 16,400 in the creditors ledger account. That is by us. The amount on the statement, which is 14,600, is correct. Okay, so we recorded 16,400. We recorded 16.4. Yet the amount on the statement, which is 14.6, is the correct one. So the difference is 1,800. The difference is 1.8. Okay. We have been told that they are correct on the statement and we are therefore incorrect with the amount that we have in the ledger. Remember, it's an invoice, so we have overstated an invoice. So we'll come here, then we say minus 1,800. Do we record anything on the statement? No. Let's move on to the next one. Number 2. Credit note number 34. Okay, credit note number 34. You see this one here. Was for damaged goods returned on 2 February. Then they went quiet. What does that mean? Okay, when you are on the statement, you have to understand that on the debit side, it is a plus. The credit side, it is a minus. And your credit notes must appear on the credit side because they decrease the balance on the statement. However, they were put now on the debit side. That is the error. So if I'm to correct that now, I would come and correct it on my statement of account. And I'm coming to say, I've added an amount that was supposed to be subtracted. So I'm going to come and say minus 800 to cancel that particular error. Then I say again, minus another 800 to record the return of goods on the 2nd of February. Someone would have just come and said minus 1,600. And the examiner would have given you 2 ticks or one there, one there. Very correct. Number 3. Candy stores recorded the discount as 1,200. Awesome Supplies indicated that the business was only entitled to 600 as reflected on the statement. Here's the discount of 600. However, we had recorded 1,200. That simply means we recorded 600 more. We subtracted 600 more. We were not granted 1.2. We were only granted 600. So we must come and add back the other 600 that we had subtracted, yet we were not granted, plus 600. Next one, please. Number 4. Awesome Suppliers granted a 5% trade discount on invoice 588, which is this one here. All right. Candy stores did not take this into account when posting to the ledger. Okay, so there's a discount of 5% that was granted. However, we did not take that into account. So there's several ways in which one would have done this. But we understand that if it is a trade discount, the amount that we see on the invoice represents the 95%, not the entire 100%. It is now 95% because we have recorded the 5% discount. Okay. Now, we are told that we did not take that into account, so we need to record that trade discount. How do you do that then? So it simply means what you want is the discount of 5%, and what you have is the 95 multiplied by 16,340. Let's see if we can punch that in the calculator. So we are now saying what I want is 5, and what I have is 95. And I multiply that by 16,340. That would then give me 860. So the discount that the trade discount that we did not record is the 860. So I'm going to come and say minus 860. Are we good? Okay, let's go on quickly now to the next one, which is number 5. Invoice 1132 on the statement. Here it is. was for goods that Awesome Supplies sold to Sweets Galore. Okay, so they sold goods to Sweets Galore, not us. So it simply means that invoice is incorrectly placed. So we come to the statement and we subtract it, minus 54,820. It is an invoice that they recorded on our statement of account. However, they sold goods to another customer of theirs, that is Sweets Galore. And then the last one reads, Awesome Supplies charges a delivery fee to all its customers. This was not recorded in the creditor's ledger account. So we know that in the creditor's ledger, we did not charge the delivery, which is 1,540. So I'll come here, then I'll say 1,540. That is how you would then do your creditor's reconciliation. And this is the final answer. Dear learners, let us go for an ad break, and I'll see you shortly. Welcome back from the ad break. This is what we have done in today's class. We have done debtors reconciliation as well as creditors reconciliation. Here are some keywords and language: creditors reconciliation as well as debtors reconciliation. Here are some critical common errors recap. For further exam practice, I would encourage you to look at these past exam papers and then continue practicing so that you may achieve better results. Until next time, it is goodbye.